This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday. And this week we are looking at upcoming releases Runner and Gravity, spoiler-free reviews of Prisoners and Bridegroom. We're going to look at a couple of the recent television premieres, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D and The Blacklist. And our From the Outside In topic this week, when has a character gone too far for you? We're going to have latest movie and TV news as always, including our own trivia segments. My name is Aaron Peterson, and with me today are my fellow hosts, Scott Clark.
I'm just interested about the spoiler-free review of a documentary.
That's a good point. Just blew my own mind.
Cramp.
Brian Williams.
Hey, what's up?
And Justin McCumber.
Aaron.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Hump Day! Woo! And that's our commercial plug of the week. We're now sponsored by Geico, or Gecko, as we decide to call it.
Mike.
Now I've taken to just texting my brother, on the, for those of you lucky enough and fortunate enough to have an iPhone, one of their little emoticon pictures is a camel. And on Wednesdays, I just send him a picture of a camel. And he goes, woo, woo. And then reply back.
I got to figure out how to get that emoticon now.
How many bugs have there been? Has it been pretty clean? The iOS 7 update?
I have
this
had
past
zero trouble.
Week ago?
Yeah, mine's been smooth.
Same
Love
here.
I didn't have one.
It looks more like Droid software, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, so it looks cool then. Looks like my phone.
But I like it.
To each their own. We love all listeners alike.
No, we don't.
There's some minor things that I really do like a lot better, though. So,
like what? Tell us. Let's have a tech talk.
Tech talk?
What's so cool about it?
Well, like when you go to text somebody, if you
just lost all the Android listeners.
You know how
That's
if you text,
fine.
if you go
Both of them.
Aaron and his mom.
I'm one of them. Yeah.
You know how when you go to text somebody or call somebody and you start to type in their name, and like if you have like 20 mics in your phone, like I do, and now instead of doing it by alphabetical order, it'll do the ones that you commonly use the most at the top, and they highlight them, and that's very helpful to me.
Well, there we go. That was worth it.
That was one.
Well, and bitter news. Kurt Russell is, in fact, in Fast 7. They lied to us, and I don't appreciate it, because they told us he wasn't going to do it. There's pictures that even Vin Diesel himself, so it's not like a spoiler they're trying to hide, Vin Diesel himself put on Facebook, and it shows Kurt Russell.
That is awesome.
It is awesome.
It is awesome, but I'm still angry. You lied to me, Vin Diesel. God, I even supported you in The Pacifier. That's what I got.
Pacifier.
Son of a...
God, the movie was terrible.
Before we go to rare movie news, podcastawards.com. Go to podcastawards.com starting October 1st, and you can vote on your favorite movie podcasts, which we hope is us. That's what we'd prefer you do. Otherwise, forget what we just said. But best movies in film, that's what our category is, as well as People's Choice, if you'd like to. Just go there, nominate us. Once a day, I think you can. We really appreciate it. That's just a little you can do for us. We appreciate it.
That'd be awesome. Love to go to Vegas again. Bring the wrong
if
pants.
we win. Of course, Scott makes it sound like we're doing it to be raunchy or something. We just want to go. It's an honor.
I went with you. There's no raunch. There's no nothing. Have we sat slot machines and watched you drink for? That was awesome.
Yeah.
I brought the wrong pants.
Wow. Kitty likes to scratch. All right, well, here's another instance. Let's go to movie news. Here's another instance of a book being optioned before it is even released. The Finisher is going to hit theaters in October of 2015, and it isn't even published until March of next year. Is Hollywood getting a little too desperate for material?
Well, you would think that. I mean, at least in the past, when you do a movie adaptation of a book, it was a book that had been around for a little while or at the least had been released in the not too distant past. But yeah, now it seems like they're so bereft of their own ideas that they're trolling through publishing houses to find who they think will be the next big upcoming trend. Is it going to be more Twilighty? Is it going to be more Hunger Games? And this one is a fantasy novel. And apparently this one was written by an author by the name of David Baldacci, who, if I'm not incorrect, usually writes thrillers. I think my wife reads some of his stuff, but he's got an upcoming fantasy novel called The Finisher, which is set to be published on March 4th of next year, and it follows the adventures of a determined young heroine named Vega Jane, who lives in an ordinary world with extraordinary secrets. What that means, I have no idea, but that's really all they're saying at this point. Mm-hmm. But one of the guys Tolmack, who produced The Amazing Spider-Man, is currently producing this one as well. So we'll see. I mean, David Baldacci is a name that I'm familiar with. He seems to be a quality writer. I'm sure it'll be a good book. And I don't know. I don't blame Hollywood, because right now what's coming out in literature are some of the most unique and refreshing stories that I've seen in a long time. It's with the blossoming of the YA market. There are a lot of neat ideas that are now getting written about that wouldn't have not that long ago.
But it seems like they're not even waiting until the jacket is finished before they start optioning. They don't know how the sales are going to be. They don't know if it's going to translate to sales. So I mean, it seems like a big gamble to just put all your pennies in this pot.
Well, it's wanting to get your toes in, dip it in first, be the first to grab onto something. You know what I mean? You can't get any sooner than that, to be honest. You don't know the success of it, so they're kind of, like you said, it's a big gamble to see if it's going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin, obviously you're more familiar with the book creating process, but I mean, at some point, surely people with the book companies and the movie companies, and say, you know, they've got connections, and say, hey man, we're going forward with this. This is awesome. I think you might like it. And sure, it gets passed over. I don't know. To me, it's not as big of a shock, really.
No, it's not. I mean, good ideas are good ideas. Whether they come from a book that's about to be published or some other place, it's still, you know, a good idea. And every movie that's made, no matter what it's based on, is a gamble. So I don't think that they're putting any more risk into these films than they would be any other film.
Well, speaking of good ideas, This Is the End writer Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have announced their new project, and it's going to be an animated movie. And we get a little flack a little later on in the show for our stance on animated movies, so we'll talk about that later. But the movie is called Sausage Party. Now, Brian, it seems like it was written specifically for you. What do you think about it?
Oh, I think this is kind of an interesting kind of spreading of their wings, so to speak. You know, kind of stepping out of the box a little bit. So it's apparently it's about a sausage falls out of a shopping cart, and him and his new friends are on this perilous journey throughout the supermarket to get back to their respective aisles before the 4th of July sale, you know, that happens. So just with the title alone, you can just imagine what kind of jokes this is going to entail. So,
No, what kind of jokes?
I'm all about dick and fart jokes. So sign me up.
Oh, Lord. And now it's taken animated form.
Well, raunchy animation isn't anything new, let's be honest. We've got Family Guy and South Park and that kind of stuff. But what's
And
interesting...
Robert Rodriguez has got that kind of raunchy comedy or cartoon also.
Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, I think, here is that it's a full feature film that has what sounds like a children's story attached to it that they're going to turn completely on its head and make it raunchy as hell. I mean, seriously, not outside of it being called Sausage
I want there
Party.
to be toys.
Sausage Party toys.
And I want them to feel like they're kids' toys until you actually see them and how they combine or whatever and click together. And then I want them to be horribly dirty, but the kids have no idea. That would be genius to me.
That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen in America.
Sounds like more fun at McDonald's than you've ever had.
I don't know. I like the idea. I like something different. I'm interested, but I'm not super excited. What was the last full-length raunchy animated movie? The only one I could think of was the South Park movie.
South Park is the last one I could think of.
And the only reason I watched that multiple times was because I was young and it was bad and
the music was phenomenal.
the music was good.
Blame Canada. Blame.
Kyle's
Uncle
mom.
Fucka.
Terrence and Howard, was that their names?
Yeah.
Terrence and Phillip.
Terrence and
Terrence and
Phillip.
Phillip. Terrence and Howard.
Dun, 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 dun. I still got that beat in my head. I can't sing the song because I don't want to offend everybody in one story. But
I wish they'd do another heavy metal, but a good.
I loved heavy
Because
metal.
they did Heavy Metal 2000, but man, that was a piece of shit.
That was not good. The original heavy metal was actually a good film.
Awesome.
Really?
Even though it was dirty and it was probably the first porn I ever saw in my life. Because I remember my dad had to watch it on HBO because he was into that movie. I'm like, yeah, you are. Okay, let's go to Disney. Let's go from Sausage Party to Disney. They ended their long-term relationship with Jerry Bruckheimer, which is kind of surprising because he's given him hit after hit after hit. Do you blame Tonto?
Well, maybe, yes. But I think it's important to note, too, that this does not mean that the relationship is 100% over. Pirates 5 is still happening. Bruckheimer's doing that. It sounds like the relationship is being severed as a, quote, first look relationship, which I take to mean, and correct me if I'm wrong,
You're wrong.
No new franchises with Bruckheimer. In that Disney wants to stick with their established properties, while Bruckheimer wants to do more mature things.
That's what they're saying, yeah. I mean, they're still going to work together on some fronts, but what they're not going to do is be exclusive. So basically, right now he has a first look deal. They have the first option on everything he does. He has exclusivity with them, and they are terminating that. They want to go their separate ways, and he can go off to other studios and shop around if he'd like to, whatever it is.
Okay.
Except for Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff they own.
Right. I'm more intrigued to know what him doing more mature films means. Does that mean less explosions, or does that mean more explosions in a serious
I'm thinking
setting?
R-rated, because I think Disney's trying to get away from adult
Or boobs
themes.
exploding.
Boobs explode. Michael Bay's coming back to the Bruckheimer house. Movies like that. That's what I foresee.
Yeah.
And real quick before we go to Brian's Trailer Park, the Emmys. Who here watched the Emmys? Me?
I watched part of it. There is another show on that I wanted
Everybody
to see.
seems so excited about the Emmys.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as watched as the Oscars, but we did have some cool wins. Jim Parsons won for Big Bang Theory.
And he
We're
looks
big fans.
so excited and gracious.
Just seems like the nicest guy
Yeah,
in the world.
he really does.
He does. And
Doesn't he win it like every year?
no, he's won twice before though, so he has won several times.
Okay.
Jeff Daniels surprised everyone. Beat Bryan Cranston for the Emmy for Newsroom. Did that make you happy, Scott, or were you disappointed? Because Cranston's won twice before.
Right.
3 times before, I think.
And I do like Jeff Daniels a lot. I don't know that his acting was better than Bryan Cranston's in Breaking Bad, though. I mean, I'm happy for him. I love Newsroom. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'm glad he won it. You know, it's almost like, well, Cranston's won it a couple of times, so he's got his recognition for Breaking Bad. So I'm fine with him winning it. I think he does a fantastic job, but it really is hard to say that he deserves it more than Bryan Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, it's like all right, this guy's won it a couple of times, so let's just share the wealth a little bit type of thing. But he does I don't want to undermine his job. I think it's one of his best performances that I've ever seen him in outside of Dumb and Dumber.
Outside of Dumb and Dumber. Which, by the way, they just came out with that picture showing Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels for the first time together.
Awesome.
I just wish he was holding up an Emmy. That pic. It's all over the internet. You can find it. Go Google for images for Dumb and Dumber 2 TO.
That would have made that picture perfect.
It would have. Hey, Lloyd. Actresses Julia Louis-Dreyfus won for Veep for comedy. Claire Danes won for Homeland again. Brian, does she keep deserving it?
Nah, I didn't. I wasn't too impressed with the second season of Homeland. So,
Okay. And
I don't know.
Modern Family won Best Comedy. A lot of people were upset about that because they thought Big Bang Theory should have won. Fair enough. I don't watch enough comedies to be a fair judge. I do love Modern Family though. That's one that I make sure to watch. So, and Breaking Bad, Best Drama for the first time.
Took 5 seasons to get it, huh?
And there are some people on the internets that are very happy, and also that backlash is starting to wear in because now it's becoming popular. So people are kind of going against it. They're like, "Wow, I'm so sick of hearing about Breaking Bad."
I'm familiar with that because I am familiar with the interwebs and have been for a long time. But the fact of the matter is that Breaking Bad, in my opinion, is probably the best drama on television currently. And I'm sure that Cranston's past Emmy wins, he's proud of them. But the work that he's put into that, this season, his character has gone through so much, and his performances have crossed the gamut from, complete viciousness to totally breaking down into tears. I think the guy still deserves, even though he's already won it a couple of times. When a person's doing their best work, they deserve to win. I don't care if they've won it every other time before. If they're the best, they should get it. And if every other actor, actress, whatever, is tired of them winning it, put better work out.
Step up your game. Yeah.
Step up your game. I mean, that's you have to look to these people to step up your game. And he is putting out the best acting that I think I have ever seen in my life. It is phenomenal what he does.
I agree with you.
And to take nothing away from Jess Daniels, I watched the pilot episode of Newsroom. I was not that impressed. It wasn't because of the acting. It was more the writing. But still, I don't know. Bryan Cranston, I think this is the best work he has probably ever done, and he deserves to be recognized for it.
And just to support what you're saying, Justin, one of the recent episodes, and I'm not spoiling anything, but there is a flashback to season 1 in a recent episode. And just the change in the way that he is presenting himself from that scene to where he's at now is a light switch.
Well, I feel bad because there's a lot of people that hate on it just because it's gained such popularity all of a sudden. And it's really been all of a sudden. Everybody acts like it's been this way for the whole series. I mean, it hasn't. It's been Netflix even kept the series on the air, which is what Vince Gilligan, the creator, said, at the Emmys, is that if it wasn't for Netflix, we wouldn't even be on the air because the first 2 or 3 years we didn't have ratings that warranted renewal. It's really just the fourth and final season.
Right.
But people are just irritated with it because it's a buzzword. People are getting excited about it. They're pumped. Everybody's talking about it. They haven't seen it, so therefore it must suck. I don't understand that logic. I mean,
it's hipster douchebag.
Yeah,
that's all it is. If it's cool, it sucks. Every genre of art has it.
That's true. Well, they won, richly deserved. I didn't even watch the show until this year, so I mean, I haven't been with it since day one either. But I don't see why people can't get on board. Hell, it's ending soon. It's ending probably by the time you listen to this, it's over.
And it's not like it's one of those shows that has 9 or 10 or 11 seasons.
No, 5.
It's 5. You can watch. I know people that have started watching this season like you and have got caught up in a month. They're that into
God bless the interwebs for that.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. All right, well, the first one off the starting line is Need for Speed. And yes, it's based on the video game. It's starring, speaking of Breaking Bad, hit their own Aaron Paul. And it's in his first, I think, starring role for a big screen. I believe it is. Anyway, Paul plays a street racer who was framed by a former business associate. So when he gets out of prison, he joins up on a cross-country race in an effort to get some payback. When the ex, so to speak, finds out, he puts a bounty out on him. And now, Justin, I know you're not exactly a car movie type of guy, but I know you do love a good action flick. So what do you think? And please, nobody make any boneheaded, ill-conceived comparisons to Fast and Furious.
Well, that's what I was going to say to start it off, is that I think people might misunderstand what this movie is if they don't see the trailer. Because I could easily understand people thinking, oh, this is Fast and Furious, another brand. But you watch the trailer, and it's pretty quick. You see that this is not another Fast and Furious movie. I love the Fast and Furious movies, and they're all about the slick action, the beautiful cars, almost as sex objects, just really shiny, fun, fluffy kind of action. But this Need for Speed, it looks far more dark and gritty in the way that its picture is presented. But what I really liked was Aaron Paul's. He's almost putting off a little bit of a, and I don't know if people agree or not, but almost a little bit of a James Dean kind of quality with the anger that seems to just be bubbling under the surface of him as he's on the screen. But I got to tell you, this movie does have some good looking action in it, and much more in your face than I think what Fast and Furious does, where it's a bit pulled back so you can see all the shiny things exploding. This one has got a couple shots from inside the car that I don't know how they pulled this shit off and people not be dying left and right.
Yep.
You don't know. Maybe they did die.
Maybe they're all just covering it up. But I think it looks. I'm shocked at just how good it looks.
I think his anger. He's probably still recovering from Breaking Bad by the time they film this.
Yeah, he looks very much like he's still stuck.
Yeah. Bitch.
Bitch.
He can't say that word ever again, like in any other movie.
No,
for real.
He should say yo a lot. Yo, bitch, get out of the way. I think it looks really interesting. I mean, It looks like a typical race movie. It doesn't look anything different, but I like race movies as long as they're fun. It looks a little bit more serious than I'd like for this kind of movie because, I mean, to have racing for a couple hours, you got to give me something else. I can't just, it's just like going to a speedway. I can't watch them go in a circle for 2 hours. So give me something.
Is there
and I didn't see
anybody
any
else?
indication of anything else there.
Yeah. Is there anybody else recognizable in the film?
No.
Michael Keaton's in it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
So Batman's in it.
Dominic Cooper, I think.
I know. He's a character actor. He's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He the guy that was in Fast and Furious 6?
No, that's a different guy.
Oh, okay. They just look alike.
Was it?
Oh, no,
Dominic-
this is a guy
was
who
it Dominic
played Iron
West?
Man's dad.
Yes,
Right?
that's Dominic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not too stoked about it. I mean,
Really? It's based on a video game. If he was holding up like an Xbox,
No,
would
I
that
mean-
change your mind?
I
think that's going to be. I think that's the difference. I mean, first of all, I love cars and I love good racing movies. You know, especially if it's got something a little bit deeper than just fancy cars going really fast. But I'm looking at this from the aspect of a movie. I think Scott, you're probably looking at this as more of how good of an adaptation is this from a video game?
No, not really, because to me, Need for Speed games are never. I don't play them for the story. I play Need for Speed games because I like.
You have a need for speed.
I have the need for speed. I mean, there's the hot pursuit games where you're being outrun or being chased by the cops, and eluding them is fun, that kind of thing. But I could not tell you one semblance of a story from any of those games, and I could probably get some emails from people saying, "Oh, there's this deep story going on," and if there is, I don't know it.
Because it doesn't exist.
Those
that's
games
why.
were good because of the mechanics and how they made you feel like you were street racing.
But you didn't think that? I think the trailer had a couple scenes where I felt like I was in the car.
Yeah,
I felt like I was in the driver's seat. Yeah.
And like Justin said, I'm interested to see how that happened because some of them look insane. But
Well, if you go on YouTube, there's they do have a little thing where Aaron Paul announces this at E3.
yep,
And they do show some of the behind the scenes stuff. It's all done really fast and slick and everything. It's not very long. It's only like 1 or 2 minutes long, but it does kind of give you that idea of how they did it and everything. And it looks as dangerous as what you would probably imagine.
mm-hmm.
And to Justin's point, if 1 or 2 or 10 people had to die for my entertainment, I'm okay with it.
I'm down. Yeah, absolutely. There's
don't
too many
bless
people in
them.
this world anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. Natural selection.
it's worth
They had
$10.
died of disease or, hunger.
They died a quarter of a mile at a time.
Wow,
How they live their life.
wow, that's what you did there.
Yep.
All right. Well, Need for Speed opens up March 14th of 2014. And hey, we got ourselves another remake. So,
I see what you did there.
oh, yeah. So, in About Last Night, a couple meets, they hook up, and a relationship just kind of seems to evolve. And while it's hard enough to navigate the relationship due to their own issues, they both have their friends giving their constant and sometimes unwanted advice. About Last Night has made reservations already for a Valentine's Day opening. Will this be your date night movie, Aaron?
No. I didn't like it the first time around with Rob Lowe. So I don't have any interest in it. It doesn't look like a catchy romantic comedy. It looks like a movie I saw in the 80s. I don't want to see it again. I do like Kevin Hart, though. So you might get me there to see him.
Yeah,
Kevin Hart looks funny, and I think the guy, Michael Ealy, I thought he looked pretty good in the role, too. I was kind of surprised at how charismatic both of them were on the trailer I watched.
I think it looks, for this kind of movie, for a typical romantic comedy, it looks decent. It's just, it's not enough to get me in a theater. To see a romantic comedy in a theater, I either A, have to be dragged, required by law, or beaten into it. And nothing here says I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to go.
yeah, I don't have any interest.
I'd rather
in
see
it.
a ride along.
Same
with
here.
Ice Cube.
You usually have to be forced to go see these types of movies, so I'm, not excited about. But I mean, I will say that I was entertained by the trailer, and Kevin Hart was not that ridiculous over the top character that he's been in a few movies, and I was glad to see that.
I think it's going to be his year.
While still being very funny.
I think it's going to be his year. He's got this and Ride Along with Ice Cube's coming out. I think that actually looks funny.
Lord of the Rings.
What?
Just kidding.
Wait, what?
He's the other Hobbit.
He's kind of dwarf sized.
This is true.
Wow.
Oh, gotcha. All right, guys. Well, yeah, like I said, this opens up Valentine's Day of next year. So watch these trailers and those from recent episodes at thehollywoodoutsider.com. Go on there. Also, you can get your I'm a Ho t-shirts. Reach us on Twitter at H_outsider. Go on to Facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Like us. We like to be liked. And you can also call us, leave us a message, text, whatever you want to do at 818-81-I'm-a-Ho. That's 818-814-6246. And, of course, you can always email us if you just want to do it the old-fashioned way at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com.
The fifth degree. Everyone knows the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Well, the fifth degree is when one of our hoes gives the rest of us hoes an actor. And basically, they're going to give something else to go along with that actor, whether it be a property, a movie, a genre, like exorcism films or something along those lines. And the winner is going to be the first hoe to connect that actor in 5 degrees or less. And also, see if you guys listening can beat the hoes to the punch. So this week, the actor is going to be Hugh Jackman. Brian, it's your choice. Who do we connect Hugh Jackman with?
All right. I want you to connect Hugh Jackman with the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, my God.
Holy crap, man.
There's no way.
Oh, there is.
You son of a bitch. The Wizard of Oz. Like, can we use the new one?
Nope. The original Wizard of Oz.
How the
The 1930, 39 classic.
I can't. I can't connect to anybody from Wizard of Oz anywhere else.
I can't think if you don't shut up. I got brain cells burning here.
Oh, have I got time to go take a poo?
Probably.
Probably. Let's see. Judy Garland.
Shut up. You're going to fuck me up.
Flying monkeys. Wolverine doesn't age. So he's probably in the
he
back.
did. He had a cameo.
That's what happened to that midget hanging in the back, right?
That's,
He was a cowardly lion and he got shaved.
Son of a bitch, Brian. You better be able to back this up.
paybacks are hell, ain't they? After that one last week.
I actually concede. I can't think of anything.
All right.
Well, we still got Scott.
No,
Yep.
I'm
Scott
out.
and Justin are still in.
No, I'm out.
Scott was like, I was really out as soon as you said Wizard of Oz, and I just glad that Aaron just said it first, so I can jump out also.
I don't know Judy Garland movies.
I don't either.
I know she's dead.
I don't think I've ever seen.
tell you what,
Can I connect her with death?
I'll tell you what, because it is so difficult, I will give you this one hint. Judy Garland is not in the path.
Well, that doesn't help me at all, jackass.
No, that helps nothing. She's
That
the
helps
only
less.
actor in Wizard of Oz that I know the name of.
Yeah, I don't know any other actor in that movie at all.
Margaret Thatcher, or whatever her name is.
Margaret Thatcher?
Whatever her name is.
That's a few years early, man.
There's one of the witches is Margaret something.
I got nothing.
James Franco.
I'm stumped.
I'm stumped. We concede. Please.
All right.
I hope somebody
Can I-
listening got this. And if you did, email us because you will be featured next week on the Hollywood Outsider.
You will be the fifth host of the Hollywood Outsider.
Replacing Brian.
All right,
Can I
connect it.
start? Can I start from the Wizard of Oz and work back?
You do whatever you got to do because I don't believe you yet.
All right. Starting with the Wizard of Oz. We're going chronologically here. Starting with the Wizard of Oz, Frank Morgan played Oz. Mm-hmm. He played in The Three Musketeers with Angela Lansbury, who played in Mr. Popper's Penguins with Jim Carrey, who played in Incredible Burt Wonderstone with Olivia Wilde, who was in the movie Butter with Hugh Jackman.
Son of a bitch.
Jackman was in Butter?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Ooh, smooth.
Like butter?
Like butter.
Oh, shit.
All right. Well, let's go to happier news like prisoners.
And I get made fun of for picking regarding Henry.
No, you officially have been retired. It is now Brian, who's ridiculous.
He's now the fuckhead.
Seriously, if anybody else got that before, and we're going on the honor system, if you got that before Brian told us or something else connecting, email us. We'll read that shit. Let's go to the big screen where we have seen two movies, Prisoners and Bridegroom. But first, Scotty, tell us about Prisoners.
All right, Prisoners. Let's start off with that one. It's the story of a man and the lengths that he would go to find his missing daughter. The main character is Keller Dover. He's played by Hugh Jackman. He's the father of two, and one of his kids, his daughter, and her friend wind up missing while the family's visiting close friends on Thanksgiving. A massive search begins for Dover's daughter, as well as the daughter of his best friend Franklin, who's played by Terrence Howard. His daughter was also abducted. Their only clue is a suspicious RV that's in the neighborhood that appeared right before the girl's disappearance. The police are on the case, and the investigation is headed up by Detective Loki, who's played by Jake Gyllenhaal. When the officers find the RV, the driver turns out to be a disturbed young man named Alex Jones. Alex has the mental capacity of a 10-year-old, and he's taken into custody. Keller is eventually convinced that Alex is behind the abduction. The police, however, can find nothing to convict him on and are forced to set him free. Frustrated beyond belief, Keller takes matters into his own hands in order to bring his and his friend's daughters back to safety. Now, the story is intriguing enough, but one thing that the critics are lauding on this is the cast. Justin, do you agree with the positive sentiments that we're getting on that with the people in this movie?
I do. The film was a lot better than I would have thought it to, be possible when I first saw the trailer for it. I don't love it as much as some people do, like Aaron, but I definitely think that it is a stronger film than I would have thought, and it's definitely not about what you would think it's about if all you knew was the trailer. It is about something much different.
Absolutely. And I love that. And starting with the story, I love the way it unfolded because to me it was like two films. I thought it was kind of like a study of the mental tortures of a man who is desperate to find his daughter. He lowers his dignity and he's willing to torture possibly a really, if he's innocent, is a very innocent man. I mean, he's not only, if he's not guilty of this, he's not only innocent, he's also borderline retarded and he has no comprehension for what is going on.
Right. So,
I mean, you really have to buy into, do you buy into what Hugh Jackman is doing with torturing this guy? Because he's basically a child. He's a child himself. The other movie that's meshed in here is a crime mystery with Gyllenhaal as Detective Loki, which I agree is one of the worst character names I've heard in a while. But as he searches for clues, tries to figure out what's going on, it's just like a mix of my two favorite kind of movies. Mysteries and character dramas. And it's just the way that it works. There's a couple plot holes, but man.
And it was way more twisted than the trailer let on, like Justin was mentioning. There's a lot more going on. And there's a lot more going on outside of just the main story, too. There's some twists and turns in there that just throw you for a loop here and there. And
which
really,
we won't spoil.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil.
One of the things, though, about the movie is that struck me after I was done watching it is the title itself, Prisoners. I think a lot of people would assume that title is talking about the two little girls that have been kidnapped. And while on a surface level, yes, that's true, but the title, extends way beyond those two girls, and it extends beyond the idea of someone holding you captive. Sometimes the worst prisons are the ones that we put ourselves in, whether it's prison created through fear or through sadness and depression. All these things can put us in a place where we feel like we're captured by it and we can't break free of it. And in this film, you see all these different characters in their own different prisons. And the one that Hugh Jackman is in is the one we get to see most of. And there are times when he's torturing this guy, and it is really visceral at first, but then later on they change it up a bit and they kind of remove that guy from your view. And I really felt like when they did that, it kind of took me a little bit out of the film and a little bit out of the emotional impact of the film, because I couldn't see the impact of what Hugh Jackman was doing anymore. And even Hugh couldn't see it. So I think it kind of, in a strange way, it made it easier for him to keep doing what he was doing. If you don't have to see who you're hurting, I think it's a lot easier to hurt them. But for me as a viewer, it kind of took me out of the torture because I couldn't see the blood or the pain on the kid's face. It just, I didn't care for that turn.
I felt the polar opposite.
I did too.
Mental torture for me is always much stronger. And we can't really go into exactly what Justin's talking about, but essentially I feel the opposite. Once you see the movie, you'll understand exactly what he means, but I feel the opposite of how he feels. And, you know, the whole point of the movie, or a big portion of the movie, is do the ends ultimately justify the means? If this kid did it, in your mind, is it okay to torture him like that? If he didn't do it, is it okay for him to torture him like that? I mean, if the ends justify the means, is it okay to do that ever, under any circumstance? If he can find his daughter, is that going to make you feel better about it? Or is that still going to make you disgusted by it? Because we do have a rule of law in this country, and you're innocent until, well, in this country you are guilty until proven innocent. But you're innocent until proven guilty. And he basically assumes the role of judge, jury, and executioner without, not literally executioner, but judge and jury without actually having proof. He has suspicions, but he has no proof. You know, which
just
is
his gut.
Just his gut.
Mm-hmm.
So for a large portion of the movie, and obviously the mystery gets solved before it's over, but for a large portion of the movie, you don't know which side it falls on, which I think leads us into the acting of it, because that wouldn't work if you didn't have phenomenal performances, my opinion. And I think Jackman, the best I've ever seen him.
He was incredible. I totally bought his frustration and anger. I could almost, and there were scenes where you could almost see his mind working, which is a tribute to a good actor, because you know when they're doing those takes, they're doing them multiple times and doing these over and over and over again, and to almost see the gears spinning after doing those takes that many times, like when he's in the home and he hears people outside, that kind of thing, you can see him kind of thinking, and man, he was awesome. And when he was pissed off, there was no questioning. He was pissed off, and I bought him. I don't know about you guys. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic. He's the center of this movie. I almost said he's the heart of the film, but I wouldn't. I would say he's the heart of this movie, but he's definitely the center of it, and I think he holds his own against everyone else in the film. Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought, was really, really well done, because in the beginning, when you first meet him, he's kind of passive and a little blasé about his job. But as the tension ratchets up and his investment increases, then his performance increases. And I really enjoyed seeing this story affect so many different people in so many different ways. And everybody does a really good job. I don't remember the name of the actor who plays the guy with the diminished mental capacity,
Paul
but
Dano.
he also did a really good job of playing creepy, yet not so creepy that you feel icky, but more just, it's hard to describe. It was kind of creepy, but it also, you kind of felt sorry for him.
Yeah. I think you could almost say he's typecast a little bit, because he kind of does that in a lot of his movies. Like,
Yeah, I've seen that. Paul Dano was his name.
Yeah, There Will Be Blood. He was in that, and the Little Miss Sunshine movie. There's another. It's kind of typecast a little bit, but he still wowed me. He just.
I will tell you, because there were different points throughout the movie where I either thought he was innocent or he was guilty. I didn't know which way, because I honestly didn't know. Where flip-flop back and forth, and he still, even the times I thought he was guilty, he still won me over. Like, man, I don't know, because he did really well. But I agree with Justin. Gyllenhaal really surprised me the most, because his character is the one that on the page is probably the least interesting. His performance isn't great because of the writing, where I think Jackman has a lot of great writing behind him. Gyllenhaal, I think, he adds a lot of ticks, a lot of character traits and that sort of thing to his performance that makes it something different than I think it was on paper.
Right.
That really impressed me, because normally I'm not a big fan. I think he's that guy that's in the movie. You know, he's that guy. I don't really get obsessed with, I'm going to go see a Jake Gyllenhaal movie. That never happens. I just think he's an okay actor. I thought he was great here.
I agree with you on Gyllenhaal totally, because I feel like I like seeing him in movies here and there, but I've never taken him as as a very serious actor, even though he's been in some bigger movies.
He seems like the same guy in everything.
He kind of does, but like you said, the facial tics, he does that extreme blinking thing throughout the movie that I've actually seen people do this when they get nervous. It's a real thing, and he pulls it off. He doesn't overuse it. It's here and there. It's just enough to kind of tell that he is not really all together like he's trying to let everybody think he is.
I think this and End of Watch, for me, really showcased just how good he is.
Yeah, he really upped his game in that one, too. And before we move on, I do want to say I've been in similar situations where my daughter was missing for a short period of time. And there's a scene from when he first realizes where is she, and the escalation that he goes through was the most impressive I've seen from an actor playing that on a television or movie or anything, because he does quiet rage better than any actor I can think of. And the way he builds and he starts becoming irrational and you can't get through to him. And that's exactly how you feel in those moments. And I was absolutely blown away.
You know, Viola Davis was good, but she seemed somewhat underused.
I thought
she seemed like a lot of talent for a very small role.
Criminally underused.
Her and Terrence Howard both, really.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, they just did the normal family. They did what people are supposed to do. While Jackman's
and they were good in their small parts. I definitely think they should have been given a little more of the movie, because by the end of it, there are some choices that they make, but you never get to see the ramifications of that on them. Mm-hmm. And I wish we kind of would.
You do see them as in a prison. I mean, they're emotionally in a prison. Jackman's wife, Marie Bello, she's in a prison of her own.
I want to smack that woman.
She can barely cope with anything. I mean, she's just emotionally devastated.
What do you guys think about the production, how the movie was put together? I mean, it definitely had a darker tone. Yeah,
I liked it quite a bit. It was mostly, it started off with a bit more sun, but as the film went on, it got darker and darker, not just in tone, but, in the lighting of the show itself. I liked a lot of the textures that the movie focused on, especially when you get to some scenes where there's some drawings on walls and things that really I thought were well done. And I'll tell you, I felt, granted this came out in summer or, late summer, I felt cold the entire time watching it, because that snow really just felt oppressive. Mm-hmm. It was everywhere, and you could just see all that breath pluming in people's, the windshields covered in ice and fog. I thought it was really well done.
Edge of my seat the entire movie.
Same here.
Lighting, direction, tension, mood, atmosphere, everything worked just shy of perfect for me.
I think the lack of an overbearing score was very prevalent too, as far as music. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of emptiness in the background as far as sound.
I can't even remember any of the music.
There was very, very little.
Very little.
Most of it was just not even. There wasn't even ambient noise.
No,
other than Terrence Howard's trumpet playing.
Yeah, and his boo-hooing. He's kind of a crybaby.
The mood was just perfect for the theme of the movie. It just really made you feel kind of creepy. My only complaint is that I think some of the scenes dragged a little bit too long. Although I will say, it did not feel like a 2.5 hour movie.
I thought it kind of did.
You really?
I really felt like they could have shaved a half an hour off, just little snips here and there, and I think it would have been a little tighter. Because by the time it was done, I was like, oh, Jesus, finally. It felt long to me.
Well, let's go with the final verdict. We all three saw it. We all seem to be pretty high on it, but there is some differences of opinions there. Justin, what's your final verdict?
A little long. Performances were good. I enjoyed it. I'll give it an 8.
Okay. Aaron?
I don't know any other way to say it except it's my favorite movie so far this year. And that includes all the fun movies. From the beginning to that ending that has a lot of people talking, 9.50 out of 10. If $10 is full price, 9.50.
Wow, that's a nice score. It
was damn near perfect.
It was exactly what I.
It's no Cloud Atlas. All right, let's calm down just a little bit.
I didn't give it a 20.
For me, it was exactly what I wanted from watching the trailer. Every scene kept me wanting more, and it had one of the best casts I've seen in a long time, as far as ones that work together and good performances. It would have received a perfect score if it had been a tad shorter, but if $10 is the full price of admission, I would easily pay $9.
Wow, that's from Scotty.
Yeah.
And it is notoriously devoid of cliches. I do want to point that out because some people were worried about that. I thought it avoided them pretty well. Now, Justin and I, we saw Bridegroom, which is a movie that a lot of you probably haven't heard of, but you're going to hear a lot more, I think, coming up to award season. So what is Bridegroom about?
Well, Bridegroom is a documentary about two
Spoiler
gay
alert.
men. Yeah, let me spoil that up right now. Thomas Bridegroom and Shane Bittney Crone. It is a documentary about them. It tells the emotional journey of these two guys as they are born in these towns that are separated by hundreds of miles. One grows up a very shy, kind of reserved gay young man. The other very very extroverted and very out there. So tonally different, yet both of them end up in Hollywood or Los Angeles, California, and mutual friends introduce them. They slowly fall in love with each other. They spend over about 6 years together and would like to have gotten married at some point. But of course, in most states, there is no gay marriage right. And one of the things that comes up in the movie, and that I think was a really powerful statement, is that nobody grows up looking forward to their civil union or being able to call someone their domestic partner. People want to get married. People want to have a husband or a wife. And this movie touches on how rough it was that after Thomas Bridegroom passed away because of an accident, suddenly his partner of more than 6 years, Shane, was completely helpless to have any impact on the funeral arrangements, Thomas's goods, his possessions. He had no input in any of it. He was basically treated by Bridegroom's family as though he didn't exist, or that they would physically harm him, perhaps kill him if he showed his face at the funeral. And it's a really gripping story of these two guys. I had never heard of this, but apparently back in 2012, last year, Shane, after spending a year of grieving and kind of documenting his own grief, put a video up on YouTube called "It Could Happen to You." And it ended up receiving over 3 million hits. He got over 50,000 emails and comments. And through that, a woman named Linda Bloodworth Thomason saw it and thought, this man's story needs to be told. And we get Bridegroom, this documentary. So, Aaron, I know this could really touch you in ways that it didn't with me because of your own family situation. What did you think of this story?
It is one of the best message movies I've ever seen because it didn't make me hate the message, if that makes any sense. One of the things about most documentaries that I don't like and a lot of other people don't like is that they're generally slanted towards whatever their point of view is. And you made some good points about what is in the movie, but what I took from it is Bridegroom is specifically about a normal, loving relationship. Mm-hmm. What the issues that Justin's talking about happen in probably the last 20 minutes of the whole movie. Because the first hour is you're learning about who they are. It showcases the two men, their struggles with finding themselves, their love when they finally came to love, the death, and where they're living now. They both were Christian men. They never attack Christians or people of faith, which I really commend, because I think people expect that. As soon as you say something, well, it's a documentary about a gay couple and gay marriage, the first thing I think most people are going to say is, well, great, they're going to attack Christians, they're going to attack this and that. I didn't feel like there was any attacking whatsoever. I thought that they treated...
Not even of Thomas Bridegroom's family.
No.
Granted, I mean, you definitely can see how these are a bunch of assholes, but they treat even that part of it pretty delicately.
Well, I don't even know if I see them as assholes. I just see them as they live how they were raised. I've known a lot of people on both sides of that fence, so I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. Gay marriage really doesn't become an issue until the very end when they're explaining that he can't attend his funeral and he can't be part of the final days, and they really had a life together. I mean, especially the movie illustrates how detailed their life was. Every part of their lives were kind of entwined together. So for me, the way I saw it, Justin, was I think it's an important film for people on the fence. I think it's one of those movies that it can actually persuade you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Most of these movies do not. If you go watch a Michael Moore movie, you won't be persuaded. Wherever you started before you watched it is probably going to where you're going to be when it ends. And it might make you actually more infuriated, whichever side you're on. This, to me, for people on the fence, if you don't know where you stand on gay marriage and that sort of thing, I recommend you give it a watch. And if you're against it, I recommend you give it a shot because I didn't find anything hateful about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and here are the things you're not going to see in this film. If you're someone who is adverse to this kind of story and you fear that there are going to be some things in it that will offend you, there is no male nudity in it. There is no petting. I mean, aside from a few chaste kiss on the lip quick moments, there's nothing that some people might consider icky that's in this. And for some reason our culture has said that two women kissing is beautiful, two guys it's gross. Well, in this film, if that's what you're worried about, that you're just going to be seeing, nonstop that kind of action, you're not going to see it. What you're going to see is just two men who find something in each other that makes them complete. And you can't help but watch this and marvel at just the depth of their affection and commitment to one another as they travel the world and dream what they want to do with the rest of their lives. It's kind of inspiring. I mean, I've been married now for almost 14 years, and I watch this and I'm like, damn, I need to up my game a little bit. These guys are they have a love that I think a lot of people wish they had. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really just beautifully done. And, the production elements of the film I thought were, pretty well done. Documentaries can't give you a lot of whiz-bangery, no special effects shots and things. I think probably the most special effects you'll see are some of the photos where they'll like take the person and move them forward and the background kind of drift to give it a little bit of that 3D effect. But what did you think of the look of a documentary? There's not a lot they can do special, but did it look like a professionally done documentary?
Oh, yeah. Easily probably one of the better documentaries I've seen in a long time. When it comes to documentary, it's really hard to talk about the direction and whatnot because they're just capturing moments and footage. And that's really what it is. The story is told very well through interviews and that sort of thing, which really makes it play out in your mind. It has a lot of interviews with friends, mutual friends, family members, everybody that would be involved. They kind of cover up. Well,
regrettably, his family did not participate. And that's a real loss because I would like to hear, their side of it. And granted, I'm predisposed to think they're a bunch of fucking assholes.
No.
Especially when his mother, the Thomas Bridegroom's mother, you come to learn a lot about how she acted towards them and how she presented herself. And then all of a sudden she suddenly changes. And it's like, well, why? There are a lot of unanswered questions with the family. I would like to get their side of things.
Yep, but overall, very well presented. I really believe, I said this forever, if you want movies that make people think or actually question whatever their perception is, you have to make movies that present people as people and stop dividing. And this is one of those movies that doesn't divide. I didn't feel divided in any way, shape, or form, no matter which side of the fence I fell on. And I appreciated that.
And you hate documentaries usually.
I really don't like documentaries very often, yeah.
And it is worth noting that this film was paid for primarily through Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting as well, that this was funded by the people and not some committee or group.
Yes.
So there you go. So again, 1 out of $10. What would you rate Bridegroom?
I would give it an 8. I was very impressed, very moved, and I think people should see it.
I was a lot more moved by it emotionally than I thought I would going into it. I'm very much for gay marriage. I expected to be mad throughout most of the film, and instead I was just kind of swept away by their relationship and saddened at how it all ended for them. This is the kind of relationship where they should have grown ancient together, and they didn't get to do that, and that's tragic. But I would give it an 8 as well.
There you go. Better than most romantic comedies and romantic movies I've seen in a long time.
There you go.
Box office. Tom Beavis sent us a link to an interesting article on... I'm sorry, that was very serious. So we had about 15 minutes of the most serious Hollywood outsider you probably ever heard.
Let's get back to the fart jokes and whatnot.
And Tom Beavis sent us a link to an interesting article on box office. it seems that the studio now wants digital numbers for box office, because basically, DVDs and Blu-rays aren't selling anymore. Everybody that is getting home video content is getting it through iTunes, through your Xbox, through your on-demand, through those things. So what do you guys think about the industry evolving like this?
Yeah, certainly they should get those numbers.
Why not? People are seeing it.
That's true. But do you guys think it's going to have a huge impact? Do you think that's where most people get that data? I mean, where they see that media now?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd say everybody sees it there, but if something doesn't take off when it's in theaters or when it's on television, but picks up that following on video, then why not let those numbers encourage the studios then to bring it back to a theater? I mean, look at Pitch Black. We talked about it not that long ago. It didn't do that well when it was in theaters, but it did well enough in home video that Universal decided to make another one. If you can get all of these numbers, that might happen more frequently, because there are a lot of people that are avoiding movies in the theater and are avoiding TV shows when they air and are getting them in other ways. The studio needs to have that information if they're going to make good choices.
That's true. Look at Office Space, too. That movie did terrible in the theater, and it was a huge success on video.
I guess, but like, let's say you're ranking the top 10 movies of, say, 2013, and what a big movie comes out early in the year, and by say September, it's on just ready for download or Blu-ray and stuff. Does that count?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Does that count? Does that say, okay, well, this has made this much money, and it beat the Avengers 4, and that just opened up, say, 1 or 2 months earlier.
I think they do it like they do now, which is theater dollars count for theaters, digital media would count for digital, television ratings count on television, that sort of thing. Just keep it exclusive to whatever the media is.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let's go on, because I know everybody doesn't get excited about this stuff. But Prisoners was number 1 with $20.8 million. Insidious Chapter 2 plummeted, but it's normal for a horror movie. 65% to $13.8 million, $60 million total.
Well into the black.
Yep. And they're already making money. They're just counting it. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. That's what they should call the next one. Cha-ching. The Family, $7 million, $25 million total. Instructions not included actually went up.
Wow.
To $5.3 million to a $33 million total. That is a Spanish-speaking only film. There are going to be more of those coming out. Get ready. And Battle of the Year, that stars... Who does that star, Justin?
Sawyer? Josh Holloway.
He doesn't even have a name. We just call him Sawyer. That opened to 4 points, and it stars Chris Brown. $4.6 million. So it's a huge flop. Which good? I don't like Chris Brown. Sorry, Josh Holloway.
All right, guys, we have got 3 movies that we're going to be talking about today, all of them opening up on October 4th. We've already talked about Bridegroom. It is opening in L.A. and New York, and it will expand throughout the season. There's really no point in going back over what the movie is about, because we really went into that in depth. So I guess what I want to ask is, Scotty, after hearing what Aaron and I talked about with this film, do you think it's something that you want to see?
It's something I'd check out, but it's something I'm going to go out of my way to watch. At least not in the theater for sure. I might check it out on iTunes or DVD or something at some point, but it's not like on a must-see list for me.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Brian?
So, same thing. It'll be one of those I find on Netflix next year or something like that, and go, oh yeah, that was that movie we talked about. Yeah,
Haters.
No big hurry for it. But I mean, it looks entertaining, but I'm not going to make an effort to go find it.
All right. Second film, Runner. This is a crime thriller directed by Brad Furman and starring Batman, Gretel, and Dick in a Box. When a poor college student who cracks an online poker game goes bust, he arranges a face-to-face meet with a man he thinks cheated him. Brian, a lot of people would probably think that in your crazy youth, you were the kid who cracked the online gambling, but they'd be wrong, wouldn't they? So what say you about Runner? You ready to run into the theater and see this?
Actually, yeah. I'm curious about this. I like these types of movies. It kind of feels... what was it? Was it The Firm with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Years ago? Mm-hmm. It kind of has that feel. Mm-hmm. And I like that. So, I'll definitely check this one out.
I was high on this when the trailer first came out. I think I'm getting trailer fatigue.
Because they have it in every single movie we've seen?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen any movies, but every single movie I've seen.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, I saw
Prisoners?
Prisoners this weekend. I knew one of the trailers.
That's
You know, it's been a long time when you haven't been in the theater when you don't recognize the trailers. But and I've said before, I'm like one of the biggest Justin Timberlake fans of this group. I worship the guy, and I don't know. I'm more interested to see Ben Affleck in this than Justin Timberlake. He looks more interesting to me. So
I still don't want to see it. Every time I see the trailer, I think, cheesy. This should go straight to video.
I got to say, I disagree. I'm with Scotty on this one. Justin Timberlake does look fine in it, but really it's Ben Affleck. He's chewing some scenery, and that's great. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the character he played in Boiler Room, that kind of cocky attitude and swagger. So I enjoyed that film with his small part in it. I would like to see this and see him maybe expand that kind of thing. But he looks like he's having a hell of a time acting in it, so I'm pretty sure I'd have a hell of a time watching it.
It just, to me, seems like it's a step down. This kind of movie is a step down for me.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to see the film just to know its full quality. It does look a little straight to video-ish, but if the end product ends up being more than just what we see in the trailer, then great. And plus, it's got Gemma Arterton or Gemma. How are we pronouncing that?
Yeah, either one.
Gemma Arterton.
Mrs.
I
Peterson.
say Gemma because
Well, from Sons of Anarchy, that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, Gretel, hottie and redhead.
My
I wanna see that.
my future ex-wife. Yep.
That's right. All right, the final film, Gravity. It's a sci-fi drama directed by Alfonso Cuarón and starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. Sandy plays a medical engineer who has to work with an astronaut to survive. Yeah, because we know each other. To survive after a space accident wrecks their shit. Aaron, this movie looks intense, even horrifying. Suddenly being on the ground doesn't seem so bad. You feeling the pull to be in a theater for this movie?
Well, you just worked it all in there.
I did.
I am going to go see, this is one of the few movies I will pay for IMAX. I want to see it in IMAX 3D. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping.
The sound, the big screen.
It just every trailer I've seen, if you see the trailer in high definition, don't watch it on your crappy little laptop. If you go find something with high definition and you watch that trailer and you see the full depth that they are shooting this in, and the things that I've heard from people that have gone to screenings, I do not want to see it on any lesser medium. Mm-hmm. I want to see it where it belongs.
I agree. It's one I want to see in high def with the surround sound. This is one of those movies that seems to have the most different trailers for this. I've seen probably like 4 or 5 different trailers for this.
Yeah,
movie.
they've really got a lot of variety. Yeah.
And I almost kind of wish I hadn't seen all of them. It's one of those that I wish I would have gone to see without seeing so much already. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like if I had seen a lot of shots from, we compare this to Open Water, or what is that movie? Open Water.
Open Water.
We
Open
compared
Space.
to that. If we had seen a lot of that trailer this much, it wouldn't have had quite the impact when I saw that movie.
Well, they didn't have as much going on. They were kind of just treading, And there's only so many variations you can do of treading water.
Right. But I mean, I see one trailer that has Sandra Bullock and George Clooney interacting. I see one where it's just her. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how much can happen? But
what I think is, I want to know what's going on with Clooney, because he's the one you never see very long in the trailer. It's usually Sandra Bullock, and I understand we're focused on her. But I'm thinking maybe he's got a lot going on in the background that you're not aware of.
Right.
And when you put George Clooney in your movie, I want to see some George Clooney.
Yeah, I want to see him, and I don't want to see his head all
I come
stuck.
for the George Clooney.
You stay for the Sandra Bullock.
For the Sandy.
For Sandy Bullock. Sorry. I forgot.
All right, guys. Of these 3 movies, Bridegroom, Runner, and Gravity, which one will you most likely be seeing in theaters? Aaron?
Gravity.
Scotty?
Gravity.
Brian?
Gravity.
You didn't comment. Is that one that you?
No,
really
I know. Y'all.
Oh shit! I'm
y'all
sorry.
Y'all are moving along nicely. It's all right. Go on. Shit.
No, if you want to add to it,
I want to see it. It looks pretty. It looks pretty. I want to see it.
I almost forgot you were here. You've been silent for so long. All right, Gravity for me as well. So that is a sweep.
Okay, and you can hear us, listen and subscribe on iTunes, your Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or through our RSS feed at thehollywoodoutsider.com. There's a new episode every Thursday. And also, if you live in the Chicago area, the Rocky Horror Picture screening tickets are for sale. So can't get it out, man. It's just not coming out. They are available. Go to the website. You can find the link, and you can get tickets there. They are limited, though, so get them. Hurry up. Go, right now.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or a listener-suggested clip from a movie. And if you think you know what the clip is, you email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Tweet us or Facebook us the answer. And next week we'll give you a proper ho shout-out. Stephen White got in last week for Death Proof, but we recorded early, so here's your shout-out. Thank you. And last week's answer was Scott's pick. Regarding Henry was the answer. Regarding Henry. And actually a lot of people got it. John Butler, just because of last week, John, which we'll mention your email or your message a little later, but just because of last week, we're going to say you got it even though you didn't. Just because I didn't give you the Fight Club shout-out, so we're sorry, man. But Stephen Feldman, he also wanted to add that totally random pick this time, but hey, I used to love this movie as a kid. You've got Jay Cooling, he also got it. I can't believe I knew that one. Also in defense of Hans Zimmer, Gladiator. Keep that mojo coming.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hans Zimmer stole some of Gladiator from
we lit a fire.
The Planets.
From who?
Holst. He wrote a symphony called The Planets. One of them is called Mars. And if you listen to Mars and then you listen to Gladiator, you're going to hear some pretty broad stealing.
Wow. And so, please direct those complaints or concerns to Justin at thehollywoodoutsiders.com.
Holst is long gone.
Also, Sandy Koch. I'm going to say Koch because the other way is not right. She got it right, and she also says it was too easy.
Did you hear that, guys? Too easy.
I've never seen it and don't care to.
Sean McGuire also got it, and he said, "What an obscure movie reference, Scott. This must have been allowed in church, so Scott actually got to watch it."
I would actually watch Psych before I would watch Regarding Henry.
Well, good. Then I'll get both queued up. And then
I ain't watching that either.
Why are you so hating on Regarding Henry?
Because everybody got it but me, so fuck all y'all.
This week it is Justin's turn. So if you think you know what this clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Here's your clip.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm Mr. Burnett. I'm Reggie.
What you doing here?
I came to take out Megan.
What?
I came to take out Megan.
How old are you?
I'm 15, Mr. Burnett.
Motherfucker, you look 30. Show me some ID.
I don't have none on me.
You don't have no idea. Get your ass up against that wall. What the fuck is your problem? You think you know it all? You little young Thundercats. You got joints on you?
No.
You smoke that shit?
No, sir.
You trying to get my daughter high? You smoke that shit?
Okay, now we go to the couch for talking about TV and home video news. First up, they did do Smallville and Arrow, but now they're going to be bringing the Batman back to television. That's without the actual Batman, though. They're gonna have a show called Gotham, and it's going to be about Commissioner Gordon in his youth. Justin, is this what you want to see?
Actually, after reading about it and giving it a little bit of thought, I think it's a fantastic idea. We've already got Batman. We just had the trilogy finish up. There are numerous Batman cartoons. They're getting ready to put Batman in another movie. Do we really need Batman on TV? No, we don't. But Commissioner Gordon is one of those characters that I think they can do a hell of a lot with because his story isn't really all that well known. So there's a lot of playroom that they've got in dealing with him. My questions are going to be more about what kind of crimes is Commissioner Gordon going to be dealing with. Is this going to be a police procedural where it's mostly the kinds of crimes we see on any other show, or is this going to have that comic book twist? Are we going to be seeing some scarecrow types and that sort of thing? But Fox landed this after a bidding war, and they've got a season commitment. It looks like it's going to be interesting, and I'm kind of all for it.
I am surprised at how much I like this idea. Who'd have thought I'd like to see a show set in the Batman universe without Batman? But I think the idea of doing some origin stories of the villains sounds really cool. I mean, we've heard Batman's origin story multiple times. You guys read the comics. We had the original Batman movie. We had the reorigin with Batman Begins. But you have some origin stories of the villains, but there's a lot of villains, number one, that weren't used. You know, and for someone like me that doesn't read a lot of comics like you guys do, it'd be so much fun to see where a lot of those get started, especially if they're somewhat grounded in reality, like the other ones did. And you can make it a weekly thing. Introduce a new villain each week. I think it sounds awesome. And it's
Or
centering
make
it
them
around
solve
Gordon.
some season-long arc, some big crime, and then just the little shits per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like the idea of possibly filling in a bunch of, backstories and origins and stuff like that, where all of a sudden if something happens to translate to the big screen later, then you've got it.
I just don't know if they're going to go with an older man or if this is going to be a younger Gordon, maybe before he became commissioner, maybe when he was a detective or something.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Is it could be him
Younger.
while he's still a detective.
Yeah, a younger version of it. So yeah, like a Smallvilling of this universe. I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to seeing what they do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Marvel is not resting on their laurels. They're working on a possible Agent Carter series from, if you might remember her from the Captain America movie.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, it's basically I think it's one of those things I like to do in the little shorts, like that's been at the end of, it's been in a lot of the DVDs that have come out with the Avengers and stuff. And I believe that this first one is going to be on the Iron Man 3 Blu-ray and DVD. So it is a project that they're considering with a lot of other possible TV shows that they're developing. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm at this point, I couldn't really care less about a series with her, but I'm all about building this Marvel Cinematic and TV universe. So I'll take it. I don't know what you guys think about it. I mean, do you think she was that compelling of a character that you want to see?
Oh, yes, she was.
Looks aside.
As a
character,
character,
I hate to be Justin here, but
yeah. As a character,
as a character, not just for her hotness, because I think we can all agree on that.
She's absolutely gorgeous. But I thought her character was probably one of the most interesting female characters in Marvel so far.
Yes.
I really haven't gotten into a lot of their female, maybe Pepper Potts. She's really close to Pepper Potts, but I like her agent a lot better. She was very independent. She was strong in a time when it wasn't proper for a woman to be that strong, and I could see a series sustained through that, because you give me a little something new, be set in a time period, World War II time. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, maybe get some of the remnants of Hydra that she has to deal with. The Marvel movies have really been all about the guys. Outside of Black Widow and Pepper Potts, those are really the only two females that have had any significant screen time. Most of it's been the guys, and I think it's a TV show around her, back during World War II, perhaps is another way to have another, female character rise to the top. I think it's a great idea, above and beyond just her as a beautiful woman, but as a character, I agree with you, Aaron. She was really cool.
And since one more thing, and we'll hit this real quick, but since you do play it on your TV, and it's a ridiculous phenomenon, GTA 5 or Grand Theft Auto 5, whichever is the proper term, has already made over $1 billion worldwide, and Scott's not excited.
Well, it's not really fair to say I'm not excited, because phenomenon is really the right word to use there.
Phenomena?
All right, great. I'm going to have it in my head all night now. It's important to note, it did make $1 billion worldwide, but it did take 3 days to get that.
Wow.
It hit, well,
long?
Well, my point is it made $800 million in 24 hours. So it made most of that.
Started strong.
In its first day. And it beat the record. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 had $500 million on its first day. So it blew it out of the water by $300 million. The last thing I want to say about that, too, is that it's been 6 years since that sequel, and there's a parallel with movies and film and that kind of and TV shows. Any kind of medium, whether it be video games, books, movies, TV shows, annual franchises aren't necessarily the best idea if you want to have longevity. If they'd had
I don't know, man. Call of Duty makes $500 million every year. So you add that up in the last 6
Yeah,
years.
Call of Duty is such a confined experience. GTA is always massive in its scope and in the sandbox in which you get to play. It is an entirely different beast to make a GTA game than it is a Call of Duty.
And plus, the
Depends
Call
on
of
who you
Duty
ask,
is
I'm
more
sure.
of a multiplayer focus. That's basically like there's a lot of Call of Duty players that don't even play the campaign. Just go straight for the multiplayer.
Well, for all you people that are listening to this, you're either probably listening to it while you're touching your controller, or you're waiting for us to finish so you can touch your controller. Now let's go. There's a
Why do
couple.
you got to make everything sound dirty?
You just took it dirty. dirty girl.
Okay.
The first show.
You just took.
Yeah, you just. The first show we're going to talk about of the new premieres is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, which is a Marvel show. What is it about?
Well, yeah, it's basically taking the character of Coulson, who we all know from the previous Marvel films and who apparently died in the Avengers. Well, now he's back, though they do make a comment, or not, he doesn't make it, but as he's walking away, two other characters make a comment that definitely leaves you to believe that something ain't right with this particular agent. But anyway, he's been put in charge of put together a group of people who can rapid react to the rising superhero, maybe supervillain presence that's existing in the world with suddenly this alien technology. They want somebody who can be a fast response. So it's a team show, an ensemble piece. You know, you've got, of course, Coulson, who is your mentor, the young hotshot. The two techies, well, one's a biotechie, but they're kind of the young hipster quippers, and then a couple of female agents in the mix. I went into this really pumped to the max because I am a massive Joss Whedon fan. I am a big fan of the movies that they've done, and I like what they've done with S.H.I.E.L.D. in particular. So I was really looking forward to it. It didn't quite live up to my expectations. I wished it would have blown me away. It didn't. I still had fun with it, but it didn't feel epic in its scope. And maybe that's not fair to ask a TV show to do what the film did, but I still can't help but wish it had a little more of that, because it felt like most of it was shot like on a back lot. And I guess I wanted a little more out of it, but I don't know. What about you guys?
Almost couldn't disagree more. I really liked it. Now, I went in with pretty low expectations because I'm sorry, the trailers looked like this was going to be crap for me. The trailers really did not, except for the fact that it had Marvel and S.H.I.E.L.D. and, you know, that part excited me. I don't think Ming-Na Wen is a very strong actress. So seeing her attached to it didn't really appeal to me either. But one thing I do like about this is it's almost the anti-movie, where you've got all these macho, you know, hulking, pun intended, I guess, all these giant, you know, type A people and everything. And then you've got the show where it's really, you've got the one handsome, square jaw, tough guy, but it's really a team of nerds.
Kind of.
This team is really more kind of the, you know, the non-physical types, the nerdier types, and it's really more, you know, it kind of turns it upside down a little bit.
Ming-Na Wen, she pulled out a couple of nice little fight moves at the end.
Yeah, she did. I just remember, to me, she's always that lady from ER. And I can't ever see her in anything else. So, and I wasn't a big fan of hers in that anyway. So, I mean, I don't know. I really liked it. I liked the direction. I liked the kind of the mystery with the explanation of Coulson. I like how they explained it, but they leave you leave you suspecting something else is going on there. So, I don't know. What about you, Aaron?
Coulson is the show. Honestly, if they didn't have Coulson, I think I would think of it a lot less high. I wasn't disappointed. I would strongly say it's a 7 out of 10 for me, but I don't like the leads, the GI Bland and the hacker chick that lives in a van that looks gorgeous, even though she lives in a van. I didn't like either one of them. I thought they were just boring. They had no charisma.
I liked the techies.
No,
I like them quite a bit.
No, he's talking about the
main two
agent,
kids.
the main agent guy, and then the girl that was the hacker who was, like you say, looks perfect, and yet she lives in a crappy van.
Yeah, I'm in a hacker, and I hacked into S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, I haven't seen that in every movie I've ever seen.
Is the van down by the river?
It is. Down by the river! I didn't like those two, and that really hindered my enjoyment of the series a little bit. The first half of the show I didn't think was as smartly written as I'd hoped, but I'm also a huge Joss Whedon fan, so I think my expectations were way up there. It didn't meet those, not by any way, shape, or form. But I did like the show. I think it set it up. It's one of those where I would say it's a good setup with great potential. And I look forward to the future. There's a few things I hope they tweak. I don't want all the Marvel movie references. Maybe most geek fans do. I don't. I thought they got a little tiresome after a bit. Coulson, the explanation for why he came back, even though I love him being there, he shouldn't be there. He should be dead.
They didn't give a reason for why he's back.
There's no reason that makes any reason that they come up with, and this isn't their fault, but whatever reason they come up with isn't going to be good enough because it automatically cheapens the Avengers, which I don't like.
I don't see. I don't understand how
totally. I know what you're going to say, and I totally disagree with that.
I don't fucking understand that. But all right,
because that death propelled the entire second half of the movie.
Sure.
And it's not there, so it didn't happen. And I think that cheapens it. To me, it seems like, all right, whatever. You just want to make a show with them. And that's fine. It is what it is. It is what it is.
But okay, so let me ask you this, though. And I want to ask this of everybody who says something like that. Does this show now reach into your brain, take the memories and emotions that you had when you first watched The Avengers, and then just pluck them out as though they never existed?
It already changes how I feel about the movie. I've watched it again since I knew he was coming back, and it already changes how I felt about the movie.
That scene definitely loses the emotion.
Yep.
Now.
There is no more emotion.
Sure, maybe it loses it now, but it doesn't change how I felt the first 4 times. How many times I watched that movie?
That's cool.
It didn't change how I felt about it the first time around.
But it changes it for the rest of the time.
Going forward, it changes. It totally changes it.
Sure,
it's not just a matter, and it's not just a changing. Well, I know what's going to happen because I've watched it, 20 times or whatever myself, and I still laugh every time Hulk punches Thor. There are certain scenes that still make me laugh, and up until this, there were certain scenes that scene it draws that emotion. You kind of feel that you just hope that maybe something different this time. He's not going to die, and he does. And now you're like, oh well, all right, well he doesn't really die for whatever the reason is.
Yeah, it takes all the emotional heft out of it. It really does. And there's no getting around. And I will tell you
I don't agree, but okay.
Well, you don't want to agree, though.
No, what the fuck does that mean?
I think you've been explaining it since we first said that. You said that you don't understand why people would be upset. I don't know how you don't understand it. I really don't. Because it totally changes exactly what you feel about that scene in the movie. How
would you feel if come to find out that Darth Vader was not Luke Skywalker's father?
DNA test was messed up.
They went on Jerry Springer after the end of episode 6, and then this whole thing was not a lie, or he was not his father, and they just played it up to make you feel that way. And so now Luke doesn't have that resolve and will have to fight against his father.
It's cheapened.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I'd have to see how they handled it.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
What they did with it.
You would feel cheapened. You would feel cheated.
Don't fucking think you can think for me.
I will think for you.
Do not fucking act like you can think for me.
I'm not.
You have no goddamn idea how I would feel about it.
Dude, I know.
I would have to see how they handle
Bullshit.
it. Just like with Coulson's death.
Bullshit.
I'm interested now in how they bring him back. Was it through magical means? Is it a clone kind of a thing? Is it a cybernetic kind of thing? What really did they do with it? If they give me a cheap answer, then sure, it's going to cheapen a lot of things. But until I understand where they're going with it, I'm not going to presuppose how I should or am going to feel about it until I actually get that stuff.
Well, I answered your question. It totally cheapens the Avengers for me.
And I answered yours, but don't think for me.
Okay. When you're passionate about something, you absolutely feel that way. So I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't. Based on your history and historical data, I don't believe that statement.
Let's move on.
Blacklist. We saw Blacklist. I really like the show. It's an interesting premise. It's kind of a mix between 24 and Alias. James Spader is a career criminal. Was it Red Reddington? Is that his?
Wait. 24, Alias, and...
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Don't let me leave that out. But it kind of meshes the three. Mm-hmm. And he's a career criminal that basically walks into the FBI and says, all right, I'll turn myself in and I'll help you solve high-profile cases, but only if I work with your one particular agent that hasn't even worked a day in the FBI yet. She literally was her first day. Was it Elizabeth Keene? Is that her name? So she's brought in. She has a boyfriend. They're planning a family. She has no idea what's going on. All she knows is that somehow he's connected to her in some way that they haven't described. And then the show is slowly This is how a pilot should be done.
Exactly what I was going to say.
It sets up the entire series in one episode, and this is honestly what I wish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have done. It just does it a little bit slower, but a lot more to the point. Does that make sense? How did you feel?
I felt out? Well. First off, I was intrigued by the whole idea. We talked about this before, and going into it, I got exactly what I wanted in the first bit. Kind of seeing a lot of those scenes that we're seeing in the trailers, in the commercials. And then they unravel and go in completely different directions and give you a lot more information that you're used to getting in a 1-hour television show. Mm-hmm. And to get you that invested in the show and the pilot, like you said, this is a way a pilot should be made. And I've got questions, and I feel like I'm going to get more answers, but then get more questions in a satisfying way. Mm-hmm. And the action was really intense. There was a scene I jumped on the bridge.
I was shocked. Did you see who directed it? Brian.
What?
Joe Carnahan is the director of the pilot. So you
really?
Yes. Now maybe.
I've got it recorded. I told you this earlier today. That was, I noticed a huge media blitz on hyping the show, and the last probably week or so, and I remember reading a little bit about it when we kind of did our fall. What shows are we excited for? And I remember kind of reading a little synopsis about it, and was kind of intrigued. But I mean, to me, James Spader's not really done much worth watching in a while. And so that kind of makes me a little leery, but you've given it good praise. In fact, Joe Carnahan's involved in this one. I get at least the first episode kind of lends me to give it a shot. So I've got it saved. I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it yet.
Yeah, it's one that I just would recommend everybody check out. It's a really good first episode, and it's the first one in a long time that's really made me want to keep going with the show. And because I don't watch TV shows as much as you guys do, mm-hmm. I usually give it an episode or two, and most of the times I'm done, unless this is one I can sit down and marathon.
There's too many shows on anymore.
Well, there's too many shows, there's too many movies, there's too many games, there's too many mm-hmm. books, there's too much media. And this is one that I am looking forward to watching every week. It might actually make me get a DVR. I don't know.
Really?
But
cheap ass Scotty might pay the $15.
I don't know. If I don't get rid of cable by then, but
well, I highly recommend it. Let's go do DVD and Blu-ray.
All right, we're looking at for the release of October 1st. First up is This Is the End. We talked a little bit earlier about these guys' new movie, that animated one about the sausage. What do they call it? Sausage Fest?
Yep.
Whatever. Anyway, this is we reviewed it up back on episode 1. Sausage Party, thank you. Aaron and Brian saw this one, reviewed it back in episode 107. Aaron gave it a 750. Brian gave it a 650.
Justin also, he didn't review it, but it was one of, favorites of the year?
Uh-huh. It was funny as shit.
Did you give it a score? I didn't remember.
I think I gave it an 8.
An 8? That's one I definitely want to check out.
The Devil's Wing gets a 10.
Haven't seen it. I heard you talk about it. So.
Oh, no, it's feet, bro.
Oh, it's so big.
Next up is The Croods.
That's what she said.
Croods is Croods. It's an animated family film involving cavemen and starring the voice of Nicolas Cage. If that's not 2 reasons enough to stay away from it.
I cannot wait to see it, Stephen White. I'm looking forward to it.
Next up is Frozen Ground. If that wasn't enough Nicolas Cage for you, you can also check out Frozen Ground, which stars John Cusack and Dean Norris. That's you're probably more familiar with him as Hank from Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm. Or Under the Dome. He's got like 8 series on this summer. Apparently.
Yeah. It's based on actual events, and it's about a state trooper who tracks down a serial killer with the help of a woman who escaped from him in the past. Next up is Fright Night 2. This one stars nobody you'll recognize and appears to be a cheap cash-in for Halloween, and a sequel to what on the surface looks to be a far inferior film.
I really like the first one. I do not want to see the second one.
No interest. Also, a couple
I kind of do.
Yeah?
I don't know why, but I kind of do.
I'll loan you the DVD for the original Fright Night 2. I'm sure it's better.
No, that's all right.
Also, a couple television shows. The first season of Beauty and the Beast, and the second to last season of How I Met Your Mother, which is the 8th season.
8 years.
Meet the bitch. Damn.
No. Have they met her yet? They met her, right?
They met her.
They did. Met her at the very last episode of season 8, and then they actually interact with her in the pilot.
So technically, couldn't I just watch the very first episode and then the very last episode, and I've kind of surmised the whole series?
I tried that, and I didn't watch any
of the season.
season.
They haven't had the last episode yet.
Well,
Oh, when he meets her.
You meet her. I mean, the whole last season is about meeting her, and I tried watching the finale and the first upcoming episode, and I've missed one season. I didn't watch any season 8, and I'm lost. I have no idea who's with who, and there's things going on, so I got to go back and watch season 8, and I will.
Do you think this could be potentially the worst letdown series finale ever?
How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm so
the most.
fatigued by it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a series that has run too long, and it's kind of obviously the best times of this show is well past it. But do you think really like all this? I mean, this whole series is all built around quote unquote How I Met Your Mother. So once she's met, I mean, is it going to be, somebody? To me, it's just the window of opportunity to make it a fantastic finale it just seems very small.
Yeah. Plus, you got a huge fan base, and the possibility of appeasing most of them with any ending is going to be really hard.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with that unknown shit. Flashback.
This week it is my turn. Seems like I'm doing this one more often. Didn't I do this one?
Nope. You haven't done it in a while.
No? Well, last time I did a kung fu movie that was more of a cheesy, funny one, and apparently that After Hours episode you guys did rubbed off on me because I'm doing another one. This is a little more
Maybe
serious.
You did. I don't know. You're doing it again.
This one's a little more serious than Kung Pao for sure, but it still has a sense of humor while maintaining some beautiful art. The movie is Kung Fu Hustle. It's from 2004.
Ooh, more kung fu.
It is one that I really liked. It stars Stephen Chow, who's a wannabe gangster who tries to join a gang known as the Axe Gang. And part of his initiation into the gang is to attack a small housing complex that appears to be housed by normal, everyday people, but turns out they've all got extraordinary powers and use them to defend their homes. It sounds like a silly story. It kind of is, but this movie really is gorgeous. It manages to throw in just the right amount of slapstick humor without going completely off the rails like Kung Pao did. It's definitely one to watch in high def if you can. It looks very pretty. And if you like Kung Fu movies but like me aren't a purist, I didn't grow up watching them, this is one that's definitely worth to look at. It's got some interesting martial arts and a really fun story with great art. I recommend it.
And that's our flashback, which some of our listeners have come to know as our unknown shit section. Now, let's go to our From the Outside In topic. As we talked about with Prisoners, Hugh Jackman's character does some really despicable things on screen. And in this world of antiheroes, and it seems like every new show, the lead is an antihero. I mean, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, you could just name anything you could think of. As well as the truly sadistic villains that are out there. There have been many moments on film, television, where we just look and said, wow, that went way too far. So we're going to talk about that. When you're watching, first question I have is when you're watching TV, movies, whatever you're watching, and that kind of thing comes up, what does it take for you to go, that was way too far?
I don't know.
I can go first.
Yeah.
Killing your kid before the missed parts?
Oh, jeez.
Jesus Christ.
For me, movies that to me go too far specifically are ones that involve kids. When bad things happen to kids, for some reason, it really bothers me. A couple examples: Kevin Bacon movie, The Woodsman, who is
that's a messed up movie.
It's a messed up movie. He's a recovering, would you call it, pedophile. And there's a scene where he kind of relapses a little bit, and he's in the park and offering a little girl to sit on his lap. That kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. You don't see a whole lot of anything go on there, but you kind of...
It's hard for you to watch.
Yes, very hard to me to watch. There's another movie
forget it. Let's make a completely inappropriate joke.
Yeah, I see what... Stop. I've got my arm out just... Nope, just back up.
So kids, does anybody else have that instance where the kids are too far, you can't see bad things happen to kids?
Nah, screw kids. I don't like them.
Fair game.
I'm not a breeder. I don't have warm, gushy feelings. Now, if you're gonna hurt a puppy, we got
we're gonna fight.
Yeah, usually anything involving harming innocent creatures pisses me off. I mean, it's bad enough that you hear news stories about people torturing dogs, but see a character do it, just nothing will make me despise you quicker. But punch a kid around, kid probably had it coming.
And if he didn't have it coming, he probably will at some point.
Yeah,
so just getting it in early.
Another one that was really hard to watch involving kids. This is probably super obscure. I don't even know how I came across it, but there's a movie called Hound Dog with Dakota Fanning.
Isn't she like raped or something?
She is raped in that movie, and it's done pretty visually, which she was still a kid when that movie was
opposed to
made.
with sock puppets. No, I said no.
It was done with claymation.
Ew.
That one.
That was really gross visually.
That was one that I was like, really, we really have to see it that visually. It felt like to me that was we're pushing the envelope to see how young of an actress we can get doing that, and I don't know, that bugged me.
Well, I mean, but the one that in that kind of vein, it's everybody remembers the scene in The Exorcist when she's sitting there stabbing her crotch with that cross and yelling just profane things. It's that seeing an innocent child suddenly becoming something completely uninnocent that, for breeders, I suppose, would be a little disturbing.
See, but I can sit through it as long as there's context to it. I don't like when it's just for cheap effect. You know what I mean? Just for cheap sympathy or just to win you over. A lot of times, in especially thrillers, that'll happen where somebody is horribly victimized just to justify somebody exacting vigilante justice at the end. I usually have a hard time with that unless it's really well done. And they usually are not really well done. And then there's times where, you watch a movie like The Accused, and we remember that one, the Jodie Foster movie, where she gets raped on a pinball machine by a bunch of guys in a bar. And that's one of the most horrific scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. But I would never turn that movie off because the way that it's told, it's excellently told. Mm-hmm. It's a great story. As long as it's told well, I can sit through just about everything. I don't think I can. I can't handle pedophilia or I can't handle sexual things happen to kids. Now, if a kid gets hit by a bus and he pops out 40 feet, that doesn't really do anything to me. If it's like one of those Final Destination movies and a bunch of teenagers die horribly.
No, see
that's what I'm rooting for. It.
Exactly. No, in Pet Cemetery when the kid gets run over by the semi.
Oh yeah,
that was a little. I don't want to say emotional. It's not like I cried, but you kind of feel it in the pit of your stomach, like, feel bad in that case.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I already played with mommy.
No, I
want to play with you. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm getting the chills just thinking about that.
Pack Scout! Pack Scout! A 12-year-old girl who's got a freaking 80-year-old person's smoker's voice.
Let's talk about your favorite Too Far moments where you, after it happened, you could no longer accept the character. You were done. You just said, you know what? That is enough. I can't deal with that anymore.
The closest I came to this, and even after it happened, I still watched the show because I liked it, but I had a hard time looking at the character the same way, is in season 4 of 24, when Jack tortures a guy using this lamp cord that he plugs into the wall and basically electrocutes him to get information. The guy proclaims his innocence. He keeps electrocuting him and just breaking this poor guy down, and he's fucking innocent. The guy didn't do what Jack Bauer wanted to find out about. It's one of those things that forever after we always kind of referenced anytime, somebody needed to hurt them for info. It's like, well, guess we could go Jack Bauer on him with a lamp cord. But that was probably the most brutal thing I'd ever seen on network television.
Did you have a hard time sympathizing with Jack
after that? Well, and what kind of bothered me is when suddenly all the conservative pundits were out there trying to talk about if Jack Bauer does all this torturing for information, then that's, he's like some kind of fucking role model. And I'm like, is this the kind of people we really want putting up as our role model? And so after that, I did have kind of a hard time sympathizing for this guy who was willing to do that. It was pretty awful.
Mine's a little backwards because I wound up by the end of the film feeling for him. And
well, then that would be in the next portion.
Well, no, because when you get to what I'm going to... Here, I'll just say it. The movie American History X, when he's got the dude's mouth on the curb.
The curb stop?
Oh.
I was pretty certain there was no way I was going to come back and like this character after that, and you...
I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't like. I thought he was a douchebag the whole movie. After that moment, I was just like, all right, no, I don't care about him.
And that's one of those that picturing that scene is like a nails on the chalkboard kind of moment for me. Just that thought. Mm-hmm. Oh. So that was mine.
Well, Scotty hangs out with you a lot, Aaron, so his douchebag quotient, it's pretty high.
Yeah, I'm kind of
He can
callous
take
to
quite
it.
a bit.
Brian, what about you?
There's just about, you could just about pick one from this guy, but it's Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Son of a bitch.
Oh,
Good
the
call.
bastard, that fucker.
That's
I
a
mean,
good
it's not
call.
like you really liked him at any point in the series, but but he's had 2 or 3 moments where you're just like, I want to track you down and do bad things to you, because of just like the scene where he's got Roz and the other prostitute in his room, and he's having her, beat her, and then of course later you see what.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I won't go there for anything that he's done in this past season, but yeah, he just a little fucking bastard.
He should have been aborted.
Yeah,
Still.
Yeah,
Retroactive.
exactly.
Let's retroactively do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other ones, B?
No.
Okay. Mine, Gemma on Sons of Anarchy. Last, I mean, she's done a lot of really just awful shit. But last year she was high and she put those kids in her car and then got in a car accident.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
good.
Yeah, got the accident.
I cannot root for her after that. I really don't care what happens to her. I used to love that character, and now if next Tuesday they just cut her head off, I'd be like, all right, because I just can't sympathize after that. And she's done some evil shit as it was, but Spike on Buffy, you know this, Justin. Years ago when he raped Buffy, he basically rapes her. And somehow they try to win him back with jokes and musical numbers and shit. And I'm just like, no. I do not find him sympathetic in any way, shape,
When
or
did
form.
he rape her?
In season 6, when she turned him down, and trust me, go watch it. It's
Yeah, I
pretty
have
infamous.
to refresh my memory on that.
Season 6, they broke up, and I'll go into it off air because go find it, people. You can Google it.
I thought of one other one too.
Go ahead.
The governor on Walking Dead.
Which part? Well, yeah, don't spoil anything.
That's what
'cause
I'm saying, I'm not
that's not on
spoiling
DVD.
anything.
That just came on DVD, I think.
Right.
So, yeah. I had
Should we
Walking.
call this the Walter White little
Yeah,
segment?
yeah,
Because
I mean-
that's the guy that I liked in the first episode, and just he continually just shoves his soul deeper and deeper into hell.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had that conversation with a lot of people that are fans. I don't sympathize with Walter White at all
No,
anymore.
I don't either.
Another one I have, Merle on Walking Dead, and it's real simple, but I'm using this more as a representation. Like I don't mind if people use the N-word as like a joke or something. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care as long as it's the right caliber of people doing it and they're doing it intelligently. But anytime you see on a TV show or a movie where they use the N-word and they use it like from a hateful place, and this includes like gangster rappers and crap like that, I just can't sympathize with the character, the people, whoever it is after that. Because to me, it just shows like your true nature, so to speak. So I could never see Merle for anything more than a racist jackass after that. And when Ben killed John Locke in Lost, spoiler alert.
Oh, God hung him?
Yeah, when he hung him. Because he was that one character where as bad as he got, and you guys, that didn't watch it, Brian, you don't understand, but as bad as he got, he still had a little sympathy to where you could go, you know what? Maybe he's not as bad. You always had that because he was really well acted. But as soon as he killed John Locke, I was done. I'm like, you know what? He is a total prick. No coming back from that one. And he never did in my
gotta
opinion.
agree.
Okay, so what are your favorite Too Far moments where you could see where the character was coming from and totally brought into whatever they were doing? Bought
I
into
got
it.
one for you.
All right, go.
Ozymandias from Watchmen. Motherfucker blew up the world. and the shit made sense. His rationale, I'm like, son of a bit. All right, I'm cool with it.
All right, blow it up.
Shit. All right, let's start this, hit that reset button. Let's do this all over again.
Okay. 24, Jack Bauer, when he shot his former mentor's wife. He went to try to get information from his former mentor, who was played by Peter Weller. And do you remember, Brian, you got to remember this. And he goes to his house and he's interrogating his wife, or interrogating his mentor. And Taken totally ripped us off, by the way. And he wouldn't give him any answers. So he takes a gun and he shoots her in the leg. Shoots her right in the kneecap.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't flinch. And Taken, I like when Liam Neeson did it too. I guess I'm for shooting your friends' wives. I'm cool with it.
Well, it's an effective tool. Mm-hmm. I had to use it a couple of times myself, but
it kind of gets things done.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I got
None of us wants to take that out of our toolbox,
Justin?
Well, when Hi and Ed kidnapped one of Nathan Arizona's babies, sure, kidnapping, not something you want to applaud. But damn it, Ed and Hi tried to have a baby, and her womb was just a rocky place where his seed could find no purchase. And he had too many babies. We wouldn't go missing one, so that's one that I thought of. And then when
that's Raising, by the way, that's Raising Arizona, because a lot of people have no idea what you're talking about.
Those are bad people, and they should go see Raising Arizona, one of the best movies I've ever seen. And when Leonard killed Teddy in Memento.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
By the end of that movie, or the beginning, depending on how you want to look at it, you know why he killed that fucker.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Wish I could have resurrected him and killed him again.
For me, and I tried putting this one on Too Far and favorite Too Far moments because it's so messed up. But pretty much the second half of the movie, I Spit on Your Grave.
Oh yeah.
That movie is one of the only movies that I've watched in recent memory where I sat and stared at the screen with my mouth open, not believing what I was watching.
I can't believe you just did that.
It almost goes too far, but at the same time,
almost.
Yeah, it goes too far.
I recommend people watch it and then you can see what Scott's version of almost too far is.
If you are squeamish at all, don't watch this movie. But if you can handle it, it's a movie you need to see at least once because it is brutal on more ways than one, and it's messed up. The other one I had was from Fight Club, the scene where he pulverizes the blonde dude's face in the pavement. Says, "I want to destroy something beautiful." Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I love that whole line because there was
because you hate people.
No, I really don't. But there was the whole mixture of jealousy and the intrigue of what was actually going on in the story. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, even though it's like a 15-year-old movie. But that whole scene is where my first all right, Edward Norton's for real in this movie. So
one before we close, Norman Bates. I totally sympathize with him. I think.
Wait, what? Should we call him Mrs. Peterson?
Yeah, something. I don't know if it's because they established the psychosis of his character at some point, so I see him as a broken man, or it's just because Anthony Perkins did such a great performance. But I sympathize with him more than I hated him. And who could blame him? I mean, Janet Leigh was hot. Wow. Now let's go to Facebook, where we mention anybody that's liked us on Facebook. And if you like us this week, we'll mention you on next week's show. Peter Sir, Marco Ita, and Roy Skinner. So thanks, guys, for liking our page, and we hope you still listen to the show. Justin, we got some emails. Justin, go first.
All right, we've got one from J-Rock NYC. He says, another great show. Just wanted to add, and here he's referencing songs from films. Sunshine's Adagio is uplifting and makes me think of the whole earth dying. 28 Days Later's Rage is so the zombies are coming with that droning mosquito guitar in your ear. And you got to mention the mall scene track from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And the song is Play With Me by Extreme. That song made that movie. Nay, it defined an era. I would say that that's actually a song, which to me is a different breed than a piece of score music.
Well, he did say it was a song in his subject line. So
right.
Technically, he called himself out.
That one from Sunshine, by the way, has been used in so many movies. Mm-hmm. It's
that almost... one in the piece from Requiem.
Yep.
They used it a lot. I think it was either the Two Towers or the very first Fellowship of the Rings. That trailer used that song all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And also, before we move on, and that was from
J-Rock NYC.
J-Rock NYC. Before we move on, I did want to mention what some of our listeners picked for some of their favorite awkward moments, or where they went too far. Paul Cooley, when Fonzie jumped the shark, literally. Good pick.
Oh, that was terrible.
Josh Steima, when Shane dropped a grenade in Lem's lap.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
How did I fucking forget
How
that?
did you forget that?
Oh, my God, that was terrible.
That's from what? That's from...
From the Shield.
Oh.
Yeah, that
Oh,
that
fuck.
was God. That was
That was irritable.
That was wicked.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Fucking Lem.
Or Derek's Curb Stomp and American History X. Both good picks. D.H. Haney, while really effective, Season 2 of American Horror Story had a sex reorientation scene that may have gone a bit too far. Again, highly effective and shockingly horrifying, as something like that should be, but went farther than I thought that would go at any rate. I didn't see it, so I don't know.
Oh, it was good. I cannot wait for Coven.
Oh, yeah, that's coming.
I'm actually excited for Coven, but I just didn't. I don't know if I just didn't get it or what, or kept waiting for something that wasn't.
It was a weird
up.
fucker.
But I really am pissed off at myself that I invested all that season.
Really?
I'm pissed off at you, too.
Yeah, it just
Huh.
it just seemed like it was starting to go one direction, and then it would go a different direction, and then you keep expecting it to kind of circle back to this, and it really doesn't. And then people that are in one place and doing a certain thing just were somewhere else. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just couldn't. Maybe it just was above my level. But
You don't get it.
Obviously, because I don't know what the hell
that
you're
would be
saying
one
at
that I would probably agree with you about.
Scott, you've got an email?
We do. This one comes from Stephen White, which we've referenced a couple times already. He says, okay, serious questions. I've been listening to the podcast for about 6 to 7 months now, and I love it, but I'm seeing a trend. You guys hate animated movies. Every time one is mentioned, someone starts bitching, either Justin with Epic or Aaron with Planes. My
Like
questions.
we did mention.
Planes sucked. I'm sorry.
My questions. 1, why even mention animated movies on your podcast if all you're ever going to do is bitch and moan about them? I'll give you a quick answer on that one, Steven, because that's what they like to do is bitch and moan.
Yeah, we're
Hey.
good. We're good at it.
And
first
hey,
of all.
before you go on to 2, and I want to say that I
Go
don't agree with that statement. I think there's been a lot of shit animated movies that have been out this past year.
That's fair.
And Scott himself raved about Despicable Me Too.
Yeah.
you guys actually had good words to say about Brave.
Yes, we love Brave.
I'll speak to question 2.
You hold your horses. Brian didn't like Monsters University, but I think he just didn't like the idea more than he didn't like the movie, because I don't even know if he saw the movie. I haven't seen it, but I've heard great things about that one.
I gave Finding Nemo 3D a 10.
Yeah, see? So basically, you should.
And number 2, you do realize that animated movies are made for kids, right? And
Yeah,
Aaron,
yeah. But let's go ahead and settle something. Just because it's made for kids doesn't mean that it has to be derivative and boring and just completely lacking in anything greater than just throwing colors up on a screen.
And if it was just made for kids, why would they put in so many adult jokes?
Well, I mean, granted, because adults have to go to take their kids and they want to give the adults something, but look at the kind of stuff that Pixar does. Most of the films that we've given high marks to, animated films, come out through Pixar. And I think that that's because they don't, in my mind, they don't talk down to kids and they don't dumb down what they're doing for kids. Kids are sometimes smarter than we want to give them credit for. And I think that we insult them when we give them movies that talk down to them. When I was a kid, I didn't like those kinds of animated movies either. I wanted something that, spoke to something a little bit better than just the average piece of shit animated movies. So movies that I feel like are going to insult kids, I don't like. And I think Epic was insulting in a lot of different ways. It was unimaginative, unoriginal. It had nothing but pretty colors on a screen.
And I will tell you, Stephen, if you're listening, and I hope you are, that last year I reviewed Hotel Transylvania and offered a stellar Dracula impersonation that I recommend you go listen to it, and you will find out how much I adore animated films.
Yeah, Despicable Me, as an example of a fantastic animated film, Megamind, I really enjoyed. I even like the Kung Fu Panda movies quite a bit. I think they're really, really well done. So don't sit here saying that we don't like them. We just don't like bad ones or average. Blech.
And the reason we have to mention them is because they're coming out. We care what parents.
We
have
care
to be
about
suffered to.
parents.
Yeah. We want them to take their kids to these shitty movies and then go see something cooler.
And if you would like to hear Aaron's review of Hotel Transylvania, you can check it out back on episode 62.
You don't have to, though.
You should.
Hey, and let's not forget we do
It's a
have
me, the
one or two
magic.
we do have one or two listeners who let their 9-year-olds listen to this. So we do have to cater to
Our
our
audience.
complete audience.
Yeah, exactly. Can I go? Can I finish
you
number
can
2 now?
finish it, yeah.
And Aaron, be kind to me if I have made any typos. You have mentioned my Facebook comments twice in the podcast and pointed out my typos both times, jerk. But welcome to my world, buddy. But anyway, you guys are awesome, especially Brian, and I love the podcast.
I just want to say that I
Can't
point out...
disagree with that last little bit there.
Yeah, you never can. I point out your mistakes because I make so many of them. It's ironic. Brian?
Yeah, we got some tweets here. One from Michael Brudenell says, love the new episode. John Butler says, slightly concerned that you think I wouldn't get Fight Club. I even sent an answer with a quote from the same movie. Love, John. And Junebug says, finally getting an update on the Hollywood Outsider podcast. Amazing what having a baby does to your podcast routines. And no, I didn't name him Aaron.
Which is really disappointing. I just want to tell you, because you can spell it either way. E-R-I-N-A-A, whatever that kid is, it can be me. Wait.
I hope it's not you.
You can always say through the credits for outtakes. Go to thehollywoodoutsider.com is our website. Twitter, H_outsider. Leave us a message or tweet us, or leave us a message or text us at 818-814-6426. Email us feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com, as well as subscribe and listen on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or our RSS feed. Thanks to each of you guys for being here. Brian Williams, thanks for being here, buddy.
All right, glad to be here.
Justin, Brian, are you going to see Rush this week? I'm curious.
I'm going to try to, yeah.
Okay, so Brian's going to try to commit to maybe seeing Rush for next week's show.
Great things about it.
It's getting great reviews. I might actually check it out just by default. Justin, author of A Minor Magic and TV Talk, Sleepy Hollow and Grim. How are you?
Doing well. Cressa Moon said that they were going to pick up a Broken Magic, so hopefully next year or so, you might get one book from me. You might get two. We'll have to see. Mm-hmm.
And you can also, as always, check Justin and I out on tvtalk.com. Be sure to check that out. Sleepy Hollow, Grim, and I'm on Hawaii Five-0. Scotty Clark.
Thanks for having me, man, as always.
I am glad you were here, sir. You make me happy.
I try.
And remember, guys, the next time you go to a theater, buy popcorn.
Did you really ask Justin how he's doing?
Yeah, I did.
Like we've been talking for the past 2 hours.
I know, right? It's all exciting.
Hey.
Hey.
Mike. What day is it?
Hump day.
Whoa.
This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday. And this week we are going to look at upcoming releases Runner, and Gravity. We're going to have spoiler-free reviews of Prisoners, Bridegroom, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to have a look at... Never mind, because I forgot it was on the next line.
Who?
This is a... What?
First one ever.
Scott's so happy he screwed me up. I did it! Call your mom.
Welcome to the club. iTunes has got that thing you do, though. I need to download that.
I like that movie.
You doing that thing you do.
Whoa.
Breaking my heart into a million pieces. Like you always do.
Love that
Love
movie.
that. I love that movie.
So do I.